In North Korea, a new destroyer capsized during its launch from the slipway. It sustained damage to its hull. Open Source Center published satellite photos of the accident on the X social media. Images from Airbus Space show that the ship is partially submerged on its starboard side, with the hull covered in tarpaulin. The accident during the launch of a newly built 5,000-ton warship at a shipyard in Chongjin on May 21st was officially reported earlier by the Korean Central News Agency. Dictator Kim Jong-un, who was present at the ceremony, stated that the accident was caused by negligence and irresponsibility, which could be considered a criminal act. According to KCNA, during the launch of the 5,000-ton destroyer, the parallel movement of the cradles was not ensured. As a result, the stern of the ship prematurely left the cradles and ran aground, while the destroyer's bow did not leave the slipway. This led to damage, including holes in the hull of the new destroyer. Kim ordered the ship to be repaired before the June plenum of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Korea. This ship is identical to the multi-purpose destroyer Choi-hyong, which North Korea launched on April 25th this year. A few days later, comprehensive tests of the newly built ship's missile and gun armament took place. The construction of combat ships for this project is currently the most ambitious naval project of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Back to Ukraine. A Russian field ammunition depot in Novotroitske, Donetsk region, was located and destroyed by a Ukrainian FPV drone. The strike triggered a massive explosion, marking another precise hit on Russian logistics. Ukraine continues to disrupt enemy supply lines with pinpoint drone warfare. In the Kharkiv region and Belgorod border region, Ukrainian drones target Russian logistics and heavy equipment. Over the past week in Kharkiv region, operators of strike drones from the Phoenix unit of the Pomsta Brigade have delivered powerful blows to Russian forces. 20 vehicles destroyed, along with 3 152mm Emsta-B howitzers, 1 D-20 howitzer, 2 artillery guns, and 6 fuel depots. Ukrainian forces have launched bold and coordinated strikes against Russian positions in both the Kharkiv and Belgorod regions. In Kharkiv, units repelled Russian advances while targeting key supply routes and command posts. Across the border in Russia's Belgorod region, Ukrainian-affiliated forces and partisans struck military infrastructure, causing panic and forcing Moscow to redirect resources. These operations are not just defensive, they're strategic. By hitting deep into Russian-held and Russian territory, Ukraine is disrupting logistics, spreading confusion, and proving it can take the fight beyond the front lines. Russia may soon be able to launch up to 500 attack drones a day, according to Ukrainian reconnaissance commander Yaroslavsky. Despite Ukrainian UAV strikes targeting drone factories deep inside Russia, Moscow has managed to ramp up production, showing just how fast their drone capabilities are growing.
But we understand that they, as Berliner recently wrote, have significantly increased the production of means like the Shahed, increased the combat payload, the warhead to 80 kilograms. I haven't encountered such on the battlefield yet, but I understand that somewhere this will happen soon.
The mass production allows them to be used by the hundreds. If before we saw their 50-100 drones which attempted to fly across the country in a day then at such a pace it could be 500 or more drones used per day because production there is on a very serious level.
Pistorius said Trump is just a bad negotiator. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has accused U.S. President Donald Trump of poor negotiating tactics in the struggle for a ceasefire in Ukraine. He simply misjudged the negotiating situation with Putin, the Minister of Defense said. Trump is aiming for one thing: restore business relations with Russia and make money with them. Trump says Russia shouldn't have been kicked out of the G8. At a White House meeting with South Africa's president, he called the G8 format better than the G7 and said it would be better if Russia were still part of it. He also claimed G7 and G20 wouldn't matter without the U.S.
Without the United States, the G20, just like the G7 used to be the G8, but brilliantly they threw Russia out. would have been a lot better if Russia was in. You know, a lot of people would say, oh, that's not it. Because if Russia was in, you probably wouldn't have this war. And if you had a different president, you wouldn't have the war either. But we have a G7. It's important that the United States is in both of them. I think without the United States, I really believe it's not very important. It's not the same meaning.
Russia's gains are stalling. Despite Putin's claims, Russia's advance in Ukraine is slowing. New battlefield data shows territorial gains have halved compared to late 2024, with Ukrainian forces holding strong. In Sumy region, rescuers evacuated 10 children whose mothers were evacuating on a bus that was hit by a Russian Lancet drone several days ago. The Russian attack injured one mother of 8 children and killed one mother of 2 children. 8 more passengers died. The kids were evacuated on an armored vehicle so they would be safer from the Russian attacks. Russia brings so much grief to Ukrainians, so much pain. The lives of millions of people have been disrupted and changed forever. Russia can continue the war on the same level for a year or two, and then it'll be in deep trouble, Finnish member of European Parliament Pekka Toveri said. In an interview with NV, the chair of the EU-Ukraine Parliamentary Association Committee said since Russia is a dictatorship, it can continue the war longer by, among other things, raising taxes, but not with the same intensity and level. The experts all agreed, Russia can't continue this war forever. So their estimate is 1 to 2 more years, and after that Russia will be in very, very deep trouble, Toveri said.
Russia can continue the war at this level and with this intensity for approximately 1 year, and then it will be much more difficult. Since Russia is a dictatorship, they can continue longer because they can raise taxes for people, they can cut the rest of social security, and people do not dare to oppose it. So they can still continue, but not at the same level. Therefore, the experts all agreed that Russia cannot continue this war indefinitely. So their estimate is 1 to 2 years, and then the Russians will have very, very big problems.
A decision has been taken to create the necessary security buffer zone along the Ukraine-Russia borders. Our armed forces are now handling this task. The work is underway, says Putin. Putin's peace.
I already mentioned that a decision was made to create a necessary safety buffer zone along the border.
Our armed forces are now solving this task actively.
Enemy firing positions are being suppressed. Work is ongoing.
Sergei Serebryakov, director of Kirov tractor plant, shared that the sale of construction equipment for a number of Russia industries, coal, oil, and construction, has dropped by 70%, and the industries themselves have been hit hard. For example, he said, due to sanctions pressure, Russian coal today is not competitive on international markets, and coal companies have reduced their investment programs to zero. Putin has turned Russia and its economy onto wartime rails at the expense of everything else.
No, our situation is that we have fully recovered, but production volumes have significantly fallen. That is, the decline, depending on the tractor model, is from 30 to 45%.
Minus. Regarding construction and road machinery, it's a different story. That is, coal miners have practically died as clients. The coal industry is in a significant crisis. It is related to issues with exports and logistics problems. We know that Russian railways significantly reduced tariffs for them, as they say, to the minimum they can, but
the coal of Russia today is still uncompetitive for a whole range of reasons in international markets, including due to sanction pressure. Coal miners feel very strong pressure and have reduced their licensing programs to zero. We see a serious decline in equipment consumption in the oil and gas in the sector, in mountain processing plants. You could say that sales volume has not decreased only for companies involved in road construction, working with federal or regional budgets. All other industries that consume road equipment have significantly declined, and construction has stalled. Construction has been significantly reduced. Therefore, the decline there is even deeper. That is, in the mining processing plants, the decline is 70%. Equipment sales elsewhere are also about the same, around 50%. That's the situation in the industry.
And this is interesting. A Chinese spy network that replaced mobile communication stations to monitor officials has been uncovered in Turkey. Yeni Shafak media outlet reported on this. It is noted that this was one of the most technologically advanced spy networks operating in the country, which was discovered by Turkish special services. A group that used fake base stations to track Turkish officials has been exposed. MSI catcher devices were found in the spies' cars, which imitate the signals of ordinary mobile phone towers. These devices were used to collect data on calls, correspondence, location, and other information from mobile phones within a radius of up to 50 meters. 7 suspects, all Chinese citizens, were arrested at the scene. According to the investigation, the cell's leader is a Chinese citizen with the initials ZL, who arrived in Turkey 5 years ago. He studied Turkish, set up fake logistics and foreign trade companies, laying the groundwork for the espionage operation. The operation was reportedly self-financed. The spies hacked into the bank accounts of ordinary citizens and used the stolen funds to finance their activities. IMSI catcher devices were brought into the country in parts to avoid detection. Antennas, batteries, and other components were transported by different people on different flights. The media reports that the spy network was active in Istanbul, Izmir, Manisa, Balıkesir, and Bursa. They tracked the movements and communications of Uyghurs and those in contact with them. It should be noted that Uyghurs in China are systematically persecuted and their rights are violated. Although ZL is considered a specially trained agent, other group members, according to Turkish sources, did not have any special skills. All 7 suspects deny involvement in espionage and claim that they do not know each other. However, it is noted that the investigation has evidence of their regular meetings and communication.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.